going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of STEM with Mr. C.
And AP.
I was just going to introduce him, but he already got me ahead there. Yes, I'm Mr. C. This is AP. We've got a quick science experiment for you, and at the end of this, there will be a little challenge because we're going to show you one way to do it, and then we're going to have a question of if it will work any other way. So we're going to lift an ice cube with a piece of string.
No!
What do you think about that?
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty good. We're gonna lift an ice cube with a piece of string. Tony is here. Tony heard string. Oh, good boy.
He took my string.
You get the string? Here you go, baby. Oh, good boy. Are you gonna get it? Are you gonna lift the ice cube with the string? Get it. Oh, get it. Oh, get it. Okay. Okay, come here. If you want to be on camera, you got to introduce yourself. All right, here's Tony.
Tony the science.
There he is.
Yeah.
So yes, we're gonna lift up an ice cube with string. If it sounds impossible, it's not.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna show you how to do it.
I've seen him do it before.
Yeah, I've done it before. And hey, you know what? My one of my second grade classes totally rocked this experiment.
Mrs. Otterson.
Oh yeah, they totally owned this experiment, made it work. And so they did such a good job. I said, I want to share this with everybody. So that's what we're doing now. So for this experiment, you're just gonna need a couple things. You're gonna need some salt.
Okay.
You don't need this much. We're just gonna use a little bit. You're gonna need one piece of string. You can have two, is fine. You're gonna need a shallow pan or a cup or a bowl of water. Doesn't really matter as long as you have some water in it. We're gonna put our ice cubes on a plate to show you that, oh my goodness, we can't do it, and then we're gonna do it. And then you need some ice over here, and my ice is chilling in the bowl. So yeah, I'm keeping it cold here because I don't want it to melt. That's really all we need for our experiment. So you know how we do it, right? We tell you what we're gonna do, we show you the materials, we do the experiment, and at the end, we discuss what happened. So gather your materials. We're gonna give you a nice close-up view of what's going on here, and let's get experimenting. Okay, we have our top-down view here, and so we don't have anything on here. AP's got his string, I've got my string, and we're gonna put out two ice cubes, and we're just gonna see if we can lift them up, okay? And you see them starting to slide all over the place. It's because they're already starting to melt. So go ahead, let's go ahead and try and pick them up with the string. Okay, we'll give them we'll give them a minute here or two.
Dang.
They're a little tougher than it looks, right? Now, what if I said you're not allowed to touch the string, or you're not allowed to touch the ice cube? You have to pick it up without touching it. So even if he was touching it, you couldn't do it, but now I'm gonna make it a little harder. You cannot touch the ice cube, or yeah. Very good.
Ha!
Very good.
Got it.
Tied a knot around it. Not bad, that's one way. Now, what if I said I can pick it up just by laying the string on top of it and picking it up? So that is one way to do it. So we're gonna use our friend, Mr. Salt right here, okay? So we're gonna take these away. And yes, right, he did tie a knot around it.
Haha, yeah.
Totally fine, right? But I've got an easier way where you don't have to tie a knot. You're not gonna get your fingers cold, and it's gonna work so much better. And it's gonna be really cool. So let's go ahead. Cool. Go ahead and put our ice cubes in here. And now what we're gonna do, you can get your ice cube wet a little bit. Just get it wet a little bit. And go ahead and place it on top of the ice cube. Make sure it's touching, right? And then we're gonna put a little bit of salt on top of the string and the ice cube, right? Doesn't need to be much, just a little bit. That's a little too much.
Ooh.
So maybe about, you only need about that much, right?
I got so much.
All right, so just put a little bit on and sprinkle it on the ice cube. Sprinkle it on your string, and then just let it sit. Now we're gonna let it sit for 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay.
And then ready, set, go. And here we go. Let's try it out now. Go ahead and lift up And look at that.
I hope mine works.
Let's see if AP's works. Da-da-da! 2 successful ice cubes lifted up. We didn't even tie a knot. Look at that.
Like I did.
Look at that. It's just sticking there. Look at that.
Aw.
And it'll drop a little bit right once you get it up here and it's a little warmer outside the water. But man, look at that. I can even.
If you heat it up.
Woo, that's pretty strong, right? Oh. I can hold it vertically. I can flip it around. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh. And now it's barely hanging on. Now let's do a little jerk. Nope. Ooh, that thing's really. Oh, that thing is really hanging up. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. All right, so man, that's awesome. I love doing that experiment. So what's happening here? Or if you prefer British English, you can say, well, what's all this then? All right, so what's happening here with the science? Well, we know there's 3 types. Water does 3 things, right? You freeze it, turns into a solid, right? It's a liquid, and it's also when you heat it, it turns into a gas. Well, each of these have points, right? We call these temperature points, or freezing or boiling points, where if the water gets too cold, it freezes. Now with water, that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If you prefer Celsius or centigrade, it's 0 degrees centigrade. The boiling point of water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, but for my Celsius fans out there, it's 100 degrees Celsius. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but what does that have to do with salt and what we're doing? Well, if you saw very closely, you probably saw a little bit of what I would say like pock marks, right? Little craters in the ice where we put the salt. Did you see that? Okay, well, what that does, water freezes, right? Because the molecules in water, when they're liquid, they're kind of excited, and then when you heat them up, they get really excited, blah, and then they turn into a gas. Okay, when they turn into a solid, they just get colder and colder. They move slower until they stick together. Well, salt really messes that up, right? Salt gets in the way of these different water molecules coming together and freezing. So what salt does, it lowers the freezing point, right? It makes it more difficult for water to freeze. That means you have to get a colder temperature for water to freeze. Now, if you've ever lived in the mountains, or if you've ever lived somewhere where there's a lot of snow, you've probably seen them put salt on the roads, and you're probably like, why are they doing that? Well, that's to keep the roads from freezing, because certain kinds of salt will lower the freezing point of water, so water won't freeze, right? Now, I'm not gonna say it's never gonna freeze. You can obviously get it cold enough where it will still freeze, but for our experiment here, our wonderful table salt, which is sodium and chlorine, which makes sodium chloride, lowers the freezing point of the water. And then what happens is that lowers the freezing point of the water, so that ice turns into water. But here's what happens. The water is warmer than the ice cube. So what happens is that ice cube and the salt actually, I don't want to say steals, but that's probably the best term. It actually takes or steals heat away, right? And then it takes it away from there, and then it gets colder and colder, and then so it refreezes, right? So the ice cube refreezes. You probably saw that just stuck on there. That was ice holding your string on the ice cube. So we basically made another kind of ice. That's what's holding the ice cube up. Pretty cool, right? So here's my question to you, right? We did this with table salt. What else do you think could do this experiment, right? I did it with table salt. So if you want to just do this with table salt, hey, fantastic, go ahead, do it. I love it, I love seeing it, right? But if you want to challenge yourself, what else do you think could we use? Is there anything else that you have in your kitchen or at your home that you could maybe sprinkle on top of an ice cube and get the string to stick on the ice cube. Let me know either in Seesaw, take a video, take a picture of you doing it, tell me what happened, or put it in your exit ticket. Awesome job. Really cool short experiment, but so much science going on. You learned about freezing points, you learned about boiling points. Super cool. And that salt can lower the freezing point, which requires more energy to then make it freeze again. Okay, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe and come back next time for some more STEM with me. Bye.